Experiences are what people love most about travel. With Viator, you can browse and book tours and activities so incredible you'll want to tell your friends. They offer everything from simple tours to extreme adventures and all the niche, interesting stuff in between. Viator has experiences in over 190 countries. There's something for everyone. Plus, Viator's travel experiences have millions of real traveler reviews, so you have the information you need to book the best activities for your trip. Viator lets you keep things flexible. Use Reserve Now and Pay Later to secure the activities you don't want to miss without being locked in. Whether you want to take a backstage tour of the Grand Ole Opry, a Miami Bimini Bahamas day trip by ferry, or a private guided tour of the Grand Canyon, Viator is for you. Download the Viator app now and use Viator 10 for 10% off your first booking. One app, over 300,000 experiences you'll remember. Do more with Viator.
Hello and welcome again, internets, or wherever you're getting your podcasts. I'm assuming from the internets.
Beginning year 2.
That's right. We are on to year 2 of the Too Good for Radio podcast.
That's right.
First week of year 2. Can you believe it?
I can, because you know what? It's too good to put on the radio, so where else is this going to go?
But the internet, where we know all great things emanate from.
Yeah.
There's us, there's cat videos, and everything else. So we'd like to thank our sponsor for year 2, the same as last year, Nugenics.
That's right.
Yeah.
We get 10% of every time she likes it too.
It said, giggity, we get 10%. Just the tip of what we get here from Nugenics.
You know, we have to go back and try to figure out how many times we've figured out how to make a Nugenics joke.
Yes.
In the past 52 episodes, because it's really quite amazing that we've taken just one stupid phrase from a commercial and it's a running bit.
Exactly. It's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's the only reason I even listen to us is to see how we're going to make a Nugenics joke each week.
I wonder how many people actually, only reason they listen, they fast forward like, where is it? There it is. And I'm off to the next podcast. An actual good podcast.
All right. Got my money's worth.
Yes.
There's no.
Yeah. Hey-oh. But we begin with nude. A nude story.
Nude.
Yes. This one takes an interesting turn.
It takes a couple interesting turns.
Yes.
Like you to meet Tony J. Saunders Jr. On the eve of his 25th birthday. He led Pennsylvania State Police on a chase in a BMW.
Okay.
At which point he crashed, killed a deer, and stole a school bus, apparently while naked.
Yeah, from what I've read,
he stripped naked and then ran into the woods, and then police had to chase him, all with a smile on his face, according to a police release. He's originally from Florida with no known current address in Pennsylvania, but when he was arrested, he said he had taken the bus after he crashed the BMW into a deer.
Because at some point, isn't the deer found somewhere? Was the deer in the bus or was the deer in the BMW?
It's just the tip of the iceberg of this story.
Okay.
Don't get too far ahead of me at this point. So yes, in the early morning, he's cruising down. I don't know if the BMW is even his. He hits a deer and apparently kills it. At which point, he then steals a school bus and puts the dead deer in the back of the bus because he was going to drive it home and use the remains of the deer for fertilizer. He wasn't just going to leave it on the road to rot.
That's a thing? That you would use the remains for fertilizer over trying to eat it as a steak or something?
I don't know much about landscaping, so I don't really know if that's a...
Hey, for those people this weekend who may be getting their gardens put together, go to your local gardening place. Be like, you got any deer carcass I can use as fertilizer?
Yeah, if I drive past your house and there's like a dead deer hanging from the tree or something and you're just shaving it to put into your flower bed.
Here you go, tomato plants. I hope you grow better. I'm giving you a hoof.
Hold it.
That's a little wrong. That's a little goofed.
Come with me down to Menards. I'll get you a bag of Scott's fertilizer.
Something along those lines. So he's going to use it. He's going to leave it at the side of the road. Right. So that's why he put it in the back of the school bus. Okay, continue.
So later that morning, the school bus operator, Lincoln Coach Lines, reported bus 877 stolen. And the police broadcast a be on the lookout alert. Be on the lookout for a stolen school bus with a deer head hanging out the back.
What's going on, everybody? We're going hunting.
What they didn't know was were there kids on the bus? All they knew is that this bus has disappeared.
Yikes.
The bus exited the parking lot and headed north. That's when police confirmed it was the correct bus, followed it to the area on Route 15 and attempted a stop. At the first, the bus eventually pulled over and he nearly immediately pulled away and continued to drive. So there he's now he's on a high-speed chase in a school bus.
With a dead deer in the back.
Yeah. And then it turned into a nearby neighborhood. This is when Saunders hops out, nude, and goes running into the woods with a big smile on his face.
Yeah, buddy. Party down. What's a party with that guy, Tony Saunders Jr.?
As officers chased, he led them through a parking lot and busy traffic areas. Vehicles were entering and exiting.
No one needs to
business.
see that.
And as he's running, he's just taking his clothes off. Woo! Here I go.
Can you imagine that's your morning commute?
Yeah.
You're never going to believe what I saw this morning.
They finally stopped him on a railroad track and apprehended him. Police searched the bus, confirmed the dead deer was inside. No children were inside.
Thank God.
Thankfully. And they connected to the chase earlier that morning with the BMW, and now he's being held on what kind of bond do you give a man who murders a deer with a BMW, steals a school bus with the purpose of taking the deer to become fertilizer, and then runs nude through busy city traffic for all to see? What kind of money do you put down to hold that guy?
I'd say probably about $500,000 bond for that guy.
It was just $100,000, man.
Oh, that's not nearly enough.
That needed to be like $10 million or something.
He ruined a lot of people's morning commute and ruined that bus. You can't put that bus back in service. Not only is dead deer smell, but that guy's butt cheeks are on a seat.
He was an active he has an active marijuana for personal use card, according to the court dockets. He was out on $5,000 surety bond at the time of the incidents, and he will then appear before courts coming up on April 24th. So we'll keep you posted on this.
Yes.
I'm gonna put a little flag on Google News here to make sure that we find out what goes on in there.
Yeah.
I don't want to miss the rest of this story.
No, we do have a follow-up to one of our stories later on
Stand
here
by.
on the Too Good for Radio podcast, but we go from one nude to another nude, where dating advice website My Dating Advisor is out with their 2023 list of the top 100 places to skinny dip in the world.
Okay.
Why the hell is that a thing?
Legit skinny dipping, not just jumping in the old swimming hole.
No, legit like skinny, like
this is a place to go for the purpose of skinny dipping.
Well, they're not all legally able, but these are great places, like more remote locations to get your, let it all hang out, as it were.
Okay.
By the way, is skinny dipping as great as we make it out to be? Isn't it something that's been in movies that makes it seem so great, but in reality, not so great?
To me, it seems like sleeping in the nude. Yeah.
It's not something you want to do.
It might look good in a romantic novel or something. Same thing with skinny dipping, but I think in practice,
or getting amorous in a shower. They make it look good in movies and everything else, but it's not. So here are the 13 places out of the top 100 from the U.S.
Any nearby?
Actually, there is. You would be surprised what number one is.
Okay.
So here we go. If you want, so you can either use this as, I'm going to go to every one of these places, see if I catch nude people,
right,
or to stay away from all of these places. So Yosemite National Park in California is 13 on the list of U.S. ones. These are just U.S. out of the top 100 worldwide.
Okay.
Baker Beach in California. Number 11, Gunnison Beach in New Jersey. Who wants to go to New Jersey?
So this is nude in the ocean, it sounds like.
Yeah,
maybe.
Nude in the. That's a song. Isn't that a song by by Cake?
I think so.
Wait a minute. Number 10 on this list of 10 best places to skinny dip by My Dating Advisor. Frenchman's Hole in Maine. I don't think you should be skinny dipping in Frenchman's Hole.
Oh, I like your flotation devices.
Yes, I do. Oh, look at your baguettes just whacking around there.
Yes, I love the way you inflate.
Next is the Bagby Hot Springs in Oregon.
I'll
show you my Bagby.
I like your Bagbies.
I like the way they have the hot springs.
Let me show you my hot spring.
Very springy. Hallover Beach in Florida. Strawberry Hot Springs in Colorado.
I'm surprised by the ones that are on the ocean. I think salty skinny dipping is probably ill-advised.
I would think so. Big time. You don't want salt going in different places.
No.
By the way, a lot of them would be beaches then, and sand's getting everywhere when you get out.
Yeah, this is terrible.
Yeah, number 6. This is from My Dating Advisor. The best place is a skinny dip. By the way, who's taking one of their first dates to be like, hey, let's go skinny dip in that Frenchman's Hole?
Does it say what the qualifications were that made them the best?
They say...
What do you look for in a good skinny dipping hole?
I'm not quite sure. Basically, the rankings list Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park in Michigan. That's where we're getting to at number 3. But number 6, Hippie Hollow, Texas is where you can go. That makes sense. Little Beach, Hawaii, also a good place. Black's Beach in California. Then you get Porcupine Mountains Wilderness State Park in Michigan.
Ouch.
Yeah. Why do you want to be going there?
Yeah.
There's enough.
Once you hear porcupine.
I thought you were going to say there's enough pricks there already. You don't need any more. Mazo Beach, Wisconsin, number 2 in the U.S., and Washagal River in Washington State.
Washagal River.
Yes, is the number 1 place to skinny dip in America, according to My Dating Advisor. Absolutely ridiculous.
I know there's a place, and it might have been Hippie Hollow, but it goes by a couple of names. But I know in Austin, on the Barton Springs that run through there.
I'm sure
there's a cove where they're all nuding it up.
Yeah,
regularly.
For me, it's just a place. That's a list of places I don't ever want to go.
Yeah.
You don't want to run into accidental nude, and we've talked about it before many times when we actually had a radio program, and even on this podcast. There's good nude and bad nude, and just dangling around, maybe having a fish bite at your thing, thinking it's a worm, not a good nude.
Whatever you think happens at a nudist colony
doesn't.
Whatever Cinemax image you have in your mind of 22-year-old college girls jiggling around playing volleyball, it's not that.
No,
it's not that.
There's jiggling around, but it's 62-year-olds jiggling around,
all hairy and gray and
everything else going on there.
Blorg.
Yeah, bumping and spiking with their breasts instead because they flop around so much.
Get hit in the eye with somebody's boob.
You're like, wait a minute, is that the tether ball or just your balls? You don't want any part of that either. So, moving on here, the Too Good for Radio podcast. If you're listening to this on the Easter weekend when it's being released, I have a story about an Easter egg hunt gone awry for obvious reasons.
Okay.
Here's what transpires. This Easter egg hunt was last weekend at the Green in Beaver Creek.
Okay.
And here's what they made a Facebook post. The management wrote that unfortunately, this event did not turn out as we had hoped and planned for due to several factors. They wrote that the event was meant to allow 1- and 2-year-olds to hunt for eggs in a designated area. Okay. Then 3- and 4-year-olds began hunting elsewhere with their parents for a 60-second head start. And then finally, other children would be able to get in the hunt. So they were going to space it out where you let the
stagger it a little bit.
You get the littlest kids get out there first, then 3- and 4-year-olds go, then the rest of the kids can go out and hunt for the Easter eggs. Well, problems with the crowd immediately began, the post said, with many people not listening to requests to move to one area to listen to instructions. Instead, when the 1- and 2-year-olds were allowed to go hunt for eggs, everyone else ran with their kids to start hunting.
God.
So 1 and 2, they're like, release the 1- and 2-year-olds. And everyone else is like, oh my God, we got to beat the 1- and 2-year-olds.
Right.
So once 3 or 4 families go, then everyone. The post added that many adults were seen picking up eggs, and some adults even pushed children out of the way or knocked people over, leaving several of the children empty-handed.
Wow.
What are you doing, you idiots?
And this is usually the way it plays out. It's always parents running in there like maniacs. That's one thing, is that the kids get a little elbowy and they're shoving each other around. Not ideal, but it's kids, and it's going to happen. That's a good idea to stagger it and let the little kids kind of do their thing, and then everyone else catch up later. But clearly, it's the parents that are causing the problem.
What's going on in your mind?
And what are you getting? It's a plastic egg with a Tootsie Roll in it, maybe.
Maybe. And here's what they've said now. They're like, well, we're not going to do it anymore because you messed it up. Instead, we're going to have a raffle ticket system where you show up and we give you a ticket, and then we call the number and a kid gets an egg to ensure everyone gets one.
And I don't think this is a new phenomenon. Has it ever worked doing Easter egg hunts in groups like that? It's supposed to just be at your house, looking under the couch and things like that and finding it. You can't have more than 3 kids, or is this going to be chaos?
Yes, that's the problem. The public Easter egg hunts never go as you expected because of jerk parents who, for some reason, think that it's a showmanship of like, our family's better, O'Doyle rules, because we got the most eggs.
I'm amazed the Secret Service lets it happen at the White House. I mean, you want to talk about an insurrection? That could happen on Easter.
It very well could. I'm going to jump the gate because I need eggs for my kids. Did your parents do Easter egg hunts for you?
Oh, yeah.
My parents didn't.
What?
Never had an Easter egg hunt during Easter.
Did you color eggs?
We colored eggs, yeah, and then they just go right in the refrigerator.
And you didn't go looking for them?
No.
Oh, Michael, I'm so sorry.
No, the only thing we had was a couple of years was the hiding of the Easter basket. Like our actual
Easter basket
was hidden somewhere in the house, but no Easter eggs were hidden.
What's wrong with your parents?
Well, these are also the same parents that never gave me a gift from Santa and didn't wrap anything for Christmas.
Right.
So my parents are very much path of least resistance when it came to holidays.
Did you and your sister want to hunt for eggs?
We never went on an Easter egg hunt, period.
Nothing.
No, never. My grandmother on my mom's side at one point tried to do that. But once again, it was too many cousins. There was like 5 of us.
Okay.
So things got a little bit wonky. And I also think my dad pulled her aside and said, hey, you're setting up expectations I'm not going to live up to. So knock it off with your Easter egg hunts because we're doing this the day before and they're going to expect it the next day too.
Yeah.
So knock it off with your hiding stuff. And so it was like for 2 years it got hidden and then it was just kind of like, it's there.
I mean, for a while, because I'm one of 4, and for a while there, we each got a dozen eggs to color.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a lot. With the paws?
Times 4.
With the tablet? 4
plus
dozen eggs?
my parents doing some. I mean, it was just, we had eggs for months.
Did you ever do the thing where you dip the egg in each one of the colors?
That was my dad's thing. He would make a black egg.
Yeah.
Much to my mother's chagrin.
Oh, moms hated it.
Yeah.
My mom hated every time I did it. My sister would be upset, and I would be like, if I'm going to do this, the one rule is you got to dip it in every one.
Yeah.
That's going to look terrible. Well, that's the point.
That's the fun of it all.
And then you had to do the thing where do you ever try to do the half and half color?
Yes.
Where you're like, look at this. I'm an artiste. I had no use for the crayon, though, to write your name on it.
The crayon they gave you was terrible. You had to use your own crayons because the crayon that comes in the box is
terrible.
Shit.
Yeah, it was awful. Screw you, Dudley, and your paws, you dumb bunny, and the rest of your paws friends.
I don't know why they skimped on that.
Yeah, it had all the things they did. But yeah, so I never went on an Easter egg hunt, and don't try to throw one for the neighborhood.
No.
Because it's going to end up like this, where people are just being a-holes and possibly arrested.
Not going to work.
Speaking of possibly arrested, we have a follow-up to the sushi terrorists, which is good to know, because I will be heading to Japan in May. So I need to make sure that the assembly line or whatever, the conveyor belt sushi is untainted.
Yeah, there has been this thing in Japan for quite some time where you go to a restaurant, you order your food, and you kind of sit at a counter, and a conveyor belt comes by, you pick up your food, and off you go.
No, it just goes right by. You're just sitting there. Boom, it just shows up.
And there had been this, both an internet trend and making videos and doing funny things of people interfering, either licking your sushi. Excuse me.
She'll like it too. There it is. Boom. Mark it down, ladies and gentlemen. You found it. You can now go to your next podcast.
Or something,
Yeah, right. It was they were squirting hand sanitizer into your beverages.
Well, Japanese police are on the case. They've arrested 2 men who posted a video on social media showing one eating pickled ginger with his chopsticks directly from a communal container at a famous beef bowl restaurant as a series of pranks that have hit sushi chains known as sushi terrorism. The police on Wednesday said Ru Shimatsu and Toshidi Oka were arrested on suspicion of obstructing business and destroying and dirtying property. You dirtied our property.
How dare you dirty my sushi?
Shimazu is seen holding a condiment container up to his face and shoveling pickled ginger into his mouth with chopsticks. Customers are supposed to use an attached serving utensil to add ginger to their food.
Don't taint it.
He told police he wanted to make people laugh. Oka said he encouraged Shimazu to do something funny, and he shared the video because it was funny, and people wanted to see it. And so they arrested both of these people And this goes back to how much do you hold somebody on for running naked with a dead deer? What do you think they
for the pickled ginger eater?
Pickled ginger, yes.
Japan's pretty strict. I think that's going to be much higher than dead deer guy.
Yeah, it's they could face up to 3 years in prison and a fine of up to 500,000 yen. Now that's $3,800 for us, but 500,000. It's a big number.
That's going to be the weird thing for me with exchange rates, trying to bring cash, exchanging cash.
And for up to 3 years in prison and a fine up to 300,000 yen for property destruction.
Yikes.
So good for them.
Yes.
Their prank surfaced in February when a customer notified a chain about the video. And so I think they've put a halt to it. I don't think you are any risk of sushi terrorism when you go to Japan.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to that. By the way, the exchange rate's going to be weird of carrying that much cash.
Right.
It's also the sticker shock of like, why is this 37? Oh, wait, it's not $3,700.
Right.
It's going to be
Lots
like
of zeros.
Yeah, a lot of zeros going on over there. So I'm glad the sushi terrorists are out. Speaking of terrorism. Up next, we have usually Am I the A-hole from Reddit, but I'm going to call this A-hole or Psycho.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, to weigh in the Mike and Molson Too Good for Radio podcast. Here is the post. Earlier tonight, I ordered a Hawaiian pizza with my boyfriend. Already off to a bad start.
Yeah.
We've only been dating a month, so it's the first time I ate pizza with him. We only finished about half and then went to watch TV. I was still hungry, so I ate all the toppings off the pizza. When he saw, he absolutely flipped out. He said that he was saving it for lunch tomorrow, that he had never met anyone who would do anything like this and was generally really upset. I thought he was joking and laughed it off, but it's been a couple of hours and he's still upset. He's talking about how he was looking forward to having the leftover pizza for lunch, and now I've ruined his lunch. I offered to buy him another pizza, but he kept saying it wasn't about that. Then I had just ruined his day. Is he overreacting, or am I the a-hole, or am I a psycho?
Just went in and just ate the toppings off the pizza.
Thank you. That's a psycho move, right?
That is a psycho move.
You're not just an a-hole. Yeah. You're a psycho. Who goes in? Because then the rest of the pizza, the leftover is moot.
Right.
If you take the topping off the pizza, now you have a gap of just no cheese, just bread with marinara sauce.
Right.
What kind of psycho goes in and goes, well, okay.
And it looks weird, doesn't it? Because there's dents like where the toppings used to be.
Yeah. First of all, you're a psycho because you ordered the Hawaiian pizza.
Yeah.
You're both psychos. You both should be locked up. And even more than dead deer guy, you need to be put in jail for that.
Right.
But then to go, I'm going to just eat. I'm still hungry. Instead of eating one extra slice, you go in and eat the topping off the entire second half of the pizza.
That is tremendous.
That is ruining everything.
Yeah.
I'm with the boyfriend in this one. Like, not only did you ruin my lunch, you ruined everything. Just eating toppings off the pizza. You can't do that.
Do they stick their hands in the box of Cap'n Crunch and just eat the berries? Because that's like the same move.
Right.
I mean, that's
exactly.
It's you know what? It's almost. I hate to use the word. But it's almost gaslighting someone, right? Because you open the refrigerator and you think you've got a pizza as you remember it, and it's not the way you remembered it, and so now it's messing with your head.
This guy walked away, right, and goes, I'm going to come back, because you do have to let the pizza cool down a little bit before you put it in a container to put it in the refrigerator, right? So he walks away assuming that when he comes back to put the pizza away, that he's going to have some delicious, not delicious because it's a shitty choice of pizza, right. But he's going to have pizza for the next day. And when you come in and you open the box and you go, who the hell did this? What are you doing?
I mean, that's something a raccoon would do.
Right. Are you
just like discriminately taking things off the top and eating it.
It'd be like around Christmas time, although it's not just Christmas, but like you make those Hershey Kiss peanut butter cookies, right?
Right.
And someone would just go in and be like, well, I'm so hungry, I'm just going to eat the Hershey Kisses off the top of all of these.
Or I was thinking of like a birthday cake and somebody just like takes their hand and scoops off the frosting. That's the equivalent of that, right?
That's exactly what you did. You globbed the giant flour frosting off the birthday cake and said, it's still good.
Yeah, and just left a dent.
No, it's not. It's not so good. You are an absolute... You're not. You're more of a psycho than an a-hole in this one.
That's somebody you need to watch. Do not.
Yes.
Do not fall asleep on that person.
No.
Keep one eye open.
Exactly, because they're going to be
You'll
doing
wake
some
up
things.
and your pants will be gone, and you can't explain it.
Well, no, it would just be like your zipper gone. They'll leave the rest of the pants. Who just takes a zipper?
Yeah, right.
And finally, on the Too Good for Radio podcast, what could be the possibly worst thing you imagine on a flight?
The worst thing on a flight. Well, there was a story just recently of a flight that had to turn back because a passenger was sitting next to somebody who couldn't stop farting.
Oh!
And the guy lost his mind.
Okay, I can see that.
If you want me to find it, I will. But I know it's not that. So what is the worst
I'm interested in that if you have a second. But if not, we got this story out of South Africa. Let me introduce you to, great name here, pilot Rudolf Erasmus.
Oh, that's a good pilot name.
Yeah. So old Rudolph is sitting there flying the plane, minding his own business. When all of a sudden he said, I felt this little cold sensation underneath my shirt where my hip is situated, but basically where you've got your little love handles.
Okay.
When he looked down, he was surprised to see a highly venomous Cape Cobra under his seat.
Ay, Chihuahua.
He felt the slithering stowaway as he was piloting a private flight from South Africa's Western Cape to the northeastern town of Nelspruit. As I turned to my left and looked down, I could see the head of the snake receding back underneath my seat.
Man, and you're responsible for flying the plane.
Yeah, at which point there was a moment of stunned silence, to be brutally honest, because holy crap, I got a snake on my little love handles. He decided to turn the light aircraft around and make emergency landing at the closest airport, which I think you should. Right? I think first thing you do is go, how the hell do we get to somewhere quick enough? Because there's a dangerous venomous snake on this plane.
Golly.
I then informed my passengers what was going on, but everyone remained calm. Just let everyone know, this is Captain Rudolph here. I just want to let you know, I had a cold, slithery sensation in my little love handles area. Yeah, it ended up being a venomous snake, Cape Cobra to be exact. So we're going to turn this thing around. Just stay calm, and we'll be landing shortly. Thank you.
If we experience any turbulence, that is just me freaking out and losing my marbles because there right now is an incredibly large snake around my ankles. No need to panic. Flight attendants will resume food service here in just a moment, and we'll be on our way.
If we go to a steep dive, it means the snake has bitten me, and the venom has taken control of my bodily functions. Hopefully see you on the ground.
If there are any animal wranglers on the flight, we would ask you to please report to the cockpit right now, because it appears that I only have about 1 hour to live, as it has bitten right down into a main artery. We are cruising at an altitude of 28,000 feet, and this will be my last report from the cockpit before I pass out.
Last thing, I will remind you that the seatbelt signs are still on, so please remain calm in the cabin. And they did. Thankfully, everybody in the cabin remains calm. He goes, I was more afraid of what the snake might do. Luckily, it didn't strike anyone. Otherwise, that would have changed or complicated the whole situation. He said he hadn't seen snakes on a plane, but he said, basically, I felt like time to get these motherfucking snakes off the motherfucking plane. He has been praised by South African Civil Aviation Commissioner Poppy Koza, who called him a hero and said he saved all lives on board. Since landing, the snake has not been found. It seemed to have boarded and disembarked, everyone hopes, on its own. So,
I would have bailed. I would have jumped out and just left the passengers to figure it out themselves.
Yep, you would have looked out the side of the aircraft and be like, hey, isn't that old Captain Rudolph parachuting out? See you later, suckers. Enjoy this. You hopefully escape with your lives. I'm out of here, folks. You got the farting story?
Oh, sure,
real quick?
sure. And I haven't
wrap things up?
read it fully, but I scanned it. It just reminded me there was a flight this past January where Daniel David Beacon got on American Airlines in Miami going to London, goes and sits down. This is an 8-hour flight or so, or more. Yeah. And he sits down, and he's crammed in there with everybody else like we all are.
Yeah.
And the person next to him, excuse me.
Pardon me.
Excuse me. And apparently,
once is accidental. Twice, you got a problem.
And at some point, the guy, after 2 hours of this, into an 8-hour flight, Yeah. The guy gets up, Daniel gets up, he's had enough, marches to the front of the plane, and just sits down in business class where there's an empty seat.
I've had it up to here.
Okay. Flight attendants realize this has gone on. Sir, you can't, this is business class. You can't do that. He says, I will pay you right now, cash, to upgrade this seat. And she said, we can't.
No, it's got to be in the system.
The time is already. According to the affidavit, he had a less than civil response to the flight attendant.
Fart off.
Yeah. He began shouting vulgar language and spitting at the air marshal who was on place.
You got no beef with them.
Yeah. The flight attendant moved away, but he confronted him in the galley and punched him.
Yikes! He didn't punch the farter? No. He punched the marshal?
Another flight attendant who witnessed the alleged assault told law enforcement she saw him standing on top of a seat in business class, shouting. Because I guess his brain was all gassed out. Yeah. She tried to calm him down and directed him back into his seat in coach. He began to walk to the back of the plane, shouting loud obscenities toward the rest of the flight crew in the rear gallery. You sit in the fart seat.
Yeah.
You think it's okay?
You think it's okay? You want to hear?
He then shoved a third flight attendant.
Good Lord.
And once the pilot was appraised of the fracas, it says, he diverted the plane back to Miami. So now everybody's got to go back to the airport.
Did Fart Guy also get in trouble?
No, it doesn't say.
Fart Man was able to stay, not the Howard Stern character, but the guy who was, I'm assuming he was a guy. I don't think the farter was a woman.
Yeah. It does not say. It does not say. His attorney asked the Federal Public Defender's Office has not responded to a request for comment. In his post-detainment interview, he claimed that after he made his move to business class, the flight attendant was aggressive and rude. And plus, this poor guy has been farted on for the past 2 hours, which would make anybody grumpy. He admitted he did not want to move from the business class seat, according to the affidavit.
Not only was he farted on, but here's the thing. I don't know about you, and I don't want to get too personal here, but we're among friends. It's year 2 of the podcast. Normally when you toot, you have a tell, like there's a movement of cheekage when you're sitting down. And so not only was it the sheer amount of farts, but I'm sure he kept getting like kneed because the guy was leaning one way or the other to let him rip.
Well, here's a preview of next week's Too Good for Radio podcast, because as I was pulling that story up, there were also a number of links saying, in fact, when you're on an airplane, you need to fart more.
Oh, okay.
There's something about being up there. Your ears pop and your butt toots and your just clogging up here, flying out there.
Ear pop and butt toots. That was a 70s.
Remember that cartoon?
Yeah, exactly.
Every Saturday morning, ear pop and butt toots. Wada, wada, wada. Hey, ear pop. Hey, butt toots. What do we got to do today? Well, I'm going to toot my butt. What are you going to do? I'm going to pop my ears.
One time he messes up. I popped my rear. Oh, wait a second. No, I'm going to toot in my ear. You said it was a 90s morning show. Welcome back to Ear Pop and Butt Toots in the morning.
That's right.
Wah, wah, wah.
We got butt toots out in our remote vehicle, and he's going to pull a prank at the local donut shop.
Butt Toots is at Frenchman's Hole, here to hope to see some naked skinny dippers. What's going on, Butt Toots?
You wouldn't believe what's going on out here, Ear Pops. I am so built up with gas right now, and these people have no idea what's going to come. All right, can you hear it? Ready? Here we go. Hey, and that butt toot was brought to you by Subway sandwiches.
That was straight from my Frenchman's Hole. Hey-o. I think next week's whole episode is going to be nothing but butt popping or ear popping butt toots.
Man, that is too good for radio.
It is really too good for you know what? It may not be. I think we just got ourselves a morning show gig. So if you hear coming to one of our sister stations, if you hear ear popping butt toots, you know who the voices are behind it. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen.